Hello, friends, and welcome to the 9th episode of From the Van.
It's a podcast from my van.
Where we have conversations with people who have relationships with residential vehicles. This episode features Macey Hallstedt. This woman is living in a Toyota Sequoia, and she was parked next to us at the Moonlight parking lot, and I mentioned the podcast to her, and she bullied me into having her on as a guest. That's actually not true. Yeah. No, she was a dynamic human being who was very interesting, and I invited her on the podcast, and I was scared of pushing her too hard to come onto it, and then she was like, "Let's do this now." And so anyway, it's reasonably likely that by the time that you're listening to this, because we recorded it several weeks ago, that she's on the Oregon Coast Trail hiking with people that she may not have met at the date of this recording. It was a really great conversation to have with her. She's a super fascinating person, and I hope that she's having a good trip.
Come over here.
This is hilarious. Right out of your home and into ours.
Come over here.
I totally understand why you guys have like a little compound here. It's probably cute as shit.
It's great. Yeah.
Can you scoot over, please?
This is so cool. Should I sit here?
Yeah.
Sit in the queen
That's
seat.
the queen seat.
What a beautiful van.
Colette reserves it for herself, but she allows guests to sit in it.
I'm sorry, would you like to switch?
No, you
I don't want to take a throne.
It's
That's
all
a big
you.
deal.
It's all you.
She calls it the queen seat because
Okay.
it's where she
Well, here's
usually...
my seat. For driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, the co-pilot seat.
Yeah,
It's an important
exactly.
one.
She drives it
It's a
in
very
very well.
important duty.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys switch on and off.
No,
No, I just do it once in a while.
like if
I
I'm
can't
drunk,
parallel-
or if I'm not there and the
Drunk?
van needs to move, you know?
Okay.
Or I can't parallel park for shit, so that's his job.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
can't do it in my Prius, so I definitely can't do this thing.
Dude, I don't know why, for some reason, I find it easier to parallel park a beast than a little car.
Interesting.
I think it's probably because the axles are really closer to the end or something, but
Huh.
I had a Ford Focus, couldn't parallel park that for shit.
Oh, really?
But
Jeez.
my Sequoia, I'm like, oh, I got this. It's fine.
Weird.
So strange.
Never
Who makes the
tried. Maybe
Sequoia?
that'd be good
Is it
at
a
Toyota.
Toyota? How big is that? I mean, I saw it, but
It's
like...
not that big. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have a number.
Okay. I mean, it's
literally
bigger
have no
than a
idea.
Ford Focus, but I wonder if it's
Much
smaller
bigger,
or
yeah.
larger than like an Explorer or something.
So the Explorers, I think it's like larger than longer than an Explorer,
Uh-huh.
but a little smaller than an Expedition.
Okay.
Because the Expeditions are like the really long ones. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
the huge one.
Yeah.
How long have you been in it?
I've had it since like March 2017
Mm-hmm.
now, but I only started living in it like less than a month ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you're in there full time
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
for a month.
I used to do, like, when I had a place in Phoenix, so I would take it, obviously, like, camping. I would do, like, a lot of adventures like that.
Uh-huh.
But now that I have no apartment, yeah, it's full time.
Yeah. What do you have in there? What's going on in there in terms of like facilitating you being in there, living in there? I'm not asking about what
Essentially-
drugs you're carrying. or
No,
anything
yeah, I was like,
that.
I have a lot of weed, is that what you wanted?
It's not a drug in this state.
Essentially
Legal.
just a bed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything fancy, like, I wish I had an Instant Pot and, you know, a cool setup, but there just wasn't space, and comfort is key for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I took the seats out and I put in a platform that's like this high so that I could put some storage underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have like a weirdly comfy / free Craigslist futon mattress that I threw in there.
There you go.
And then underneath I have, you know, like a stove and all the stuff I would need for
Right.
like...
Typical camping equipment.
Yeah,
and
typical
stuff.
camping stuff, but it's kind of useless in an urban environment like this. It's not like I can just start, you know, like whip out my camp stove and start cooking on the sidewalk or something.
Good
Right.
here.
I guess I could, but I
And we
won't.
do it. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
we cook here every
that's
day.
one of the reasons that we're able to tolerate living in such a small van is that we cook outside right out the back of this
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, it's a
It's
little
raining
less
out.
conspicuous with yours, though.
Well,
You know?
I mean, I'm talking with the doors open and the cooktop
Yeah.
up. Like,
Okay.
we get,
Yeah.
it's easily as conspicuous, if not more so, than just having like a little camping table set up with a butane stove on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
is
think
that
I
right?
would
But you
need
could use
to.
water.
Usually I only use it at like campgrounds that have like a picnic table.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I guess I'll do the full thing. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't take much to power me.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm hungry, I'll have an apple and some trail mix and I'm fine.
Jeez.
Obviously I like burritos and tacos and,
Yeah.
going all out, but if I'm desperate, it does not take much to run my body.
Right. We eat big time for the most part. I feel
Really?
Well,
like.
that's like the fun part. That's the fun part of camping. Is like
Yeah.
go somewhere pretty and eat a lot of food, But like it's just not sustainable long term.
We don't eat a lot. We just eat a lot of hearty food.
Yeah, that's
we
the
eat a
deal.
lot of cheese.
Quality
I'm
over
a
quantity.
vegetarian, but
Yeah.
I love cheese. It's my favorite food. So we just
I
eat,
wish.
we eat a lot of eggs and cheese and
What else
that
do you
kind of
eat?
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant, so I hear
Oh,
cheese
no.
and I'm like, oh, I wish.
Oh, I think I
It's
would just.
my
I
greatest
don't even
flaw,
know what
for
I would
sure.
do.
So a fellow
with it.
van life couple gave us this recipe that we would happily pass along to you.
What is it?
What I was making earlier.
Yeah, she made it earlier.
Your
You
no
s-
bake granola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's real simple. It's just like
I saw you making it. It looked
Coconut and
delicious.
honey.
It's
and-
really good. Yeah, we're out of coconut, but it's peanut butter, honey, a little bit of vanilla, chocolate chips, coconut, oats, and I put flaxseed chia seed in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's, like, super
So you can
easy,
really
and it's-
doctor that up.
Like really powers you.
It's and the
It's
wonderful
such
thing
a
about
good
it,
little like power ball.
yeah, having it
Yeah.
always in the van. It's
Super
like
dense
Have a
too.
scoop
Yeah.
and you're like,
if you're
cool.
like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking die or go crazy if I don't eat.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can have a
when you
little
get
scoop of
hangry.
that, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Especially when you're traveling with someone else, it's all about anger management for sure.
Oh, when I get hangry, I'm like, don't talk to me, just
Dude,
take
me
it.
too. Me too. I get so hangry so fast. Where I'd have to tell my friends, I'm like, I'm gonna kill you if I don't eat right now.
Yeah.
It's in your best
happen.
interest.
So what's your background? Where are you from? What'd you do? Who are you?
I'm from Michigan. It's a great place. Very proud to be from that state. Have you ever been? So if you ever go, you'll notice that literally every single person has some sort of like Michigan pride sticker on their vehicle. It's just such a thing.
That's
People
great.
love being from Michigan because in the summer it's dope and you can brag about it. But then in the winter you get to be like, I survived negative 30 degrees with
Yeah.
wind chill, and it's like a badass thing. Really, it's a really great state. And then I moved to Phoenix because I just cannot hack the winters. I really love heat. I just like it. It's like 110 degrees in Phoenix and everyone is freaking out. I'm like, oh, this is perfect.
Oh wow.
I love it. I love it.
I can't handle that. And I grew up in South Carolina where it's like
It's
100
humid there
degrees.
though. That's the thing. In
Humidity
Phoenix
is
it is
gnarly.
not. Yeah.
What are you into? Why are you living in a van? Why are you living in Sequoia?
Yeah.
Alright.
Valid question. My parents ask that all the time too.
Mine too.
Yeah, they're like,
There
we
you
don't
go.
get it, but okay, whatever. Mostly it's just like traveling as well as outdoor adventures. For the past few years, like in Arizona, it's been great to have a home base and super convenient to like go places, the Grand Canyon and Cochise, Tucson. There's a lot of amazing stuff in Arizona, but it's just so much to go back and forth. And also I've just kind of, I don't know why, I can't describe it, but I've always kind of been drawn to this, just like hit the road, go where I feel like, kind of, shit like this. Like
Yeah.
just meet strangers, make friends,
Sure.
move along, maybe meet up somewhere along the way, just like kind of the little connections like that. And also, I guess since I started traveling in college, me and my friends, we kind of always talk about how like the kindness of strangers really can like make or break any traveling experience. So I guess in a weird way, it's kind of like a vendetta to prove that, people are generally good and strangers are a good thing, especially being from like, kind of a conservative place in Michigan. I was always taught like, oh, why do you trust those people? You're too trusting. You shouldn't do this stuff. And I'm like, nah, it's fine. Everyone's mostly pretty cool, especially out here,
Right. Sure. I find that when you put yourself in a perceived position of vulnerability,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
people who are vulnerable, or even people who aren't, they see that perceived vulnerability and they're more likely to open up to you.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny you say that, because like my motto for a long time has been there can be no progress without vulnerability.
Right.
Because I totally think that in any situation, if you're vulnerable enough to say like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, can you help me? Or like, oh, I'm really scared about this. Or if you can just like have the balls to be vulnerable, I don't like, in my experience, it's never been met with anything but, like, help and positivity.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a big portion of it. I've been in some really weird situations where I've just been like, I need help, or like this terrible thing happened, and so many people will just be like, oh my god, what can I do for you? And I'm like, you're a complete stranger, why are you being so nice? But it's appreciated.
Yeah, cool. So
Like, it always happens that way.
what do you, and if I ever ask you a question that you don't want to answer, clearly don't answer it, but
Okay.
what are you doing to make ends meet? Do you have a job? Do you?
Yeah, so this obsession, I guess I can call it an obsession now, it started in college. I forget how it happened. I think it was right around the same time, like, outdoorsiness started to be trendy. Do you remember? Maybe, like, 2013-ish? Do you remember where you were in 2013?
I do, but I'm substantially old.
Okay.
And so I've gone through
I remember that.
I've gone through a few waves.
I can't tell if it's just in my head or if it's a real thing.
It started to become trendy to go hiking and take 100 pictures of yourself on the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, hiking just feels good, but that's cool too.
Yeah.
Take your pictures.
I think it was around that time. I think I'm
outside.
just like super susceptible maybe. But like growing up in Michigan, I grew up like boating. I was always, swimming and camping and just doing all like the chill outdoorsy things. And then once that became a thing when I was in college, one time I was like, I really didn't feel like studying, so I just watched weeks on weeks of like surfing documentaries and climbing documentaries and like all this shit, and I was like, wow, what a creative approach to life. So that's when the obsession started, and that's when I started like researching and saving. So essentially I've been saving for this since I got like my first like real adult job, because I'm only 25. I got my first real adult job when I was like 23, and ever since that, no, 24. Shit, I don't even know. But I've just been saving for like 3 or 4 years, just consistently, just being like, I'm gonna work my butt off now and live super simply so that I can just kind of, say fuck it and drive my truck around whenever I feel like it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Super cool. I'm glad that we had the millennial demographic to relate to her.
You're
on
welcome. That's why I'm here.
Perfect.
That one.
Here to be the millennial
I'm
voice.
so interested that you said that, because I've been wondering for a long time if it's all in my head or if there was actually like a turning point with when it became like a cool thing.
There was such a difference. I grew up around here in Fallbrook.
I guess in California it's like always been a thing.
Yeah, but when I moved, when I was in high school and went to high school in Riverside County, and there was just like there was a much different perspective. Like going to the beach for them, like for me it was about a 25 minute drive to go to the beach, wasn't that bad. And they would travel, 45 minutes to an hour and like really like do it hard, and like
It wasn't like a casual beach day. It was like, we're going to the
it's
beach.
like-
We gotta pack all the things.
yeah,
Kind of
I'm
thing.
like, oh.
Yeah.
And so it was just a difference in going more inland that I
Yeah.
saw, and then it getting trendy and people wanting to start hiking more and all that good stuff. And I was
I
like,
bet.
I grew up in hippie private schools as a kid, and so like
There
PE
are
was
hippie
hiking.
private schools?
In California there are.
Oh my god. In Michigan,
so-
all the private schools are just super preppy and Catholic.
Oh yeah, no, it was like they taught you how to garden and how to compost and like how to recycle, and PE was like going hiking. And so I grew up on all that stuff, and a lot of people around me did not. And we always
Okay.
spent a lot of time outside. We had a big backyard growing up, and
Yeah, I guess it's just my upbringing.
Yeah,
The
where you
outdoorsiness in
grew up
Michigan
and-
probably has a very different vibe
Yeah.
than outdoorsiness in California.
Oh,
I guess
sure.
it's always been cool here, but yeah.
So, are you a hiker, surfer, climber?
Hiker, yes. I'm getting more into backpacking, which has been a struggle for me. I have really terrible sleeping issues, so that's why I put such a comfy
I
bed in my
feel that.
truck. So backpacking, it's hard for me to love it just because I can never sleep, but I do. And I'm gonna do some immersion therapy with that this summer, just like run myself ragged and hope I can get over that hump.
Yeah.
I'm getting more into climbing. I'm still kind of new, but I love it. And then surfing I can't do. I one time almost died in a riptide, so I'm not trying to tempt fate in that way again. I was like this close to death. Like I thought I was just a goner. So I'm not going to surf. Because
Where was that?
That was in Costa Rica.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't want to get held under because that was
Yeah.
fucking terrifying.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not trying to do that, but it's on my bucket list to get, to become decent at kite surfing. Because I have tried that, and I really like the idea of being attached to a kite, so I'm not going to be held under anything. And also I really
There you
like
go.
heights. So like
heights?
I love heights.
You never hear anybody say that.
I love them. I'll climb anything. Like I love even like I was just in Angel's Landing a few weeks ago in Zion, like standing up there and just looking down. I don't know why I don't get vertigo. I just love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does it
Cool.
give you like an adrenaline rush at
Yes.
least though? And
Yeah.
you feed
Like
off of
bungee
that?
jumping, skydiving. I love all
Oh,
that
for
shit.
sure.
Yeah.
Cool. We have a buddy in town here who like does the squirrel suits and stuff.
That, oh my god, that'd be such a dream. I would love to do that, but the statistics are not in anyone's favor.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
even
That's why we're both like, I don't know about that
Yeah.
one.
Well, you need so much training to do it. I've looked into it. You need to have like a fuck ton of skydives, and you need to do a lot to even be like legally allowed to do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
For
no.
me, it was like, yeah, that'd be really cool, but it's probably, I mean, it would stress my parents out unnecessarily, and it's probably more expensive than it's worth. Because I'd be pissed if I paid a lot of money to die. That would suck.
yeah.
Yeah, it would matter if you're dead.
Yeah,
Your money
exactly.
doesn't mean anything at
That's
that
totally
point
true,
anyway.
but it's the principle, you know?
That's the sort of
And you're like,
investment
well-
you definitely want to put on credit.
Yeah,
right?
for
In
sure.
case it
yeah,
doesn't
don't
work
say
out.
credit card, yeah.
So you're about to go on a trip, right? We're in Encinitas now, and we met you like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
But
Pleasure, by the way.
you're about to go pick a friend up in
Yeah.
LA and go on a trip, right?
Yeah, my dear friend Bree, she's coming out from Phoenix. I'm gonna scoop her at LAX tomorrow evening, and then what's today? Monday? Yeah,
I think so.
And then what? Yeah, time is so weird. The past month, time I just I can't even conceptualize. Wednesday morning, we're catching a ferry out to Channel Islands National Park. Because I've been kind of hooked on that place. I don't know why, but it's just calling to me.
Yeah.
So we're going to camp and hike there for a few nights. And then we're going to get back in my truck and head up Big Sur because my best friend lives in Monterey. And then she's going to fly to Monterey.
Rad.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of the next phase of the journey.
How long
and
are you going
then
to take to do all of those things?
I'm aiming to be in Alaska by like early September.
Oh, wait. This is after the story that you told us. I meant how long
Oh.
is it going to take before she flies out of Monterey?
Oh, she's gonna fly to Monterey on like maybe the 26th, I think.
So not too long.
No,
like
no.
a
We're
week
gonna
and a half or
yeah,
so.
we're gonna take like 10 days to do Big Sur. We're gonna do it slow.
Then you're driving to Alaska.
Kind of. I'm doing that in phases. So my best friend lives in Monterey. I'll hang out with her for a week. We're gonna do some like camping and stuff. I haven't seen her in a while. And then shit, what's after that? Oh, I have a bunch of homies flying out to meet me in Sequoia National Park for my birthday.
Hell yeah.
On May 1st. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Sequoia
Oh,
in my Sequoia,
so-
yes.
Yeah.
So dope.
And
Is
then
that the
so-
reason?
No, I've just always been drawn to it.
Yeah.
It's so pretty there.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
I've been to Redwoods, but I haven't
Yeah.
been to the parks over there. And I know Yosemite is iconic. Everyone loves Yosemite, but for some reason, my subconscious is always like, "Hey, I bet Sequoia's cooler." And shit.
They're both fantastic, and they're in very different places.
Okay, I'm glad
They
to
have
hear
a
that.
lot of different things to see. But
Yeah, because I thought for my birthday Sequoia would be a little bit chiller. I think it's a little bit lower in altitude, so it might be warmer.
Yeah.
A little less crowded. That's kind of what I was
Yeah.
going for. And then I'm gonna go up through Yosemite and do some like Lost Coast stuff. I'm also very drawn to like Eureka, Arcata for some reason, probably because I like weed. That's my best guess.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Come to the right place.
yeah, exactly. And then
You got to run estates too before you hit
I
Canada
know,
that are all
I
legal.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I love it out
Washington
here.
and Colorado were the first, so
Yeah,
you know.
Michigan now
Oregon's
is
totally-
too. Michigan
Did
is
Michigan
legal as of
legalize
November.
it? Fully?
Yes. Yes.
Good for them.
Yes. It's gonna be obviously it takes a while before the dispensaries can get up and running and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm super stoked
Yeah,
on my hometown. Yeah.
Here it was like all of the dispensaries had to change their rules when it became legal because there were so many medical places that decided to now do both.
Yeah.
And they got so regulated. They're like, oh, sorry, we can't give you free stuff anymore, and you can't be as lenient and like chill.
I
They
got
have to be. You got it. To be so much more discreet. So I was
Yeah.
like, I don't like this. Like,
Yeah.
I like free stuff.
Well, count your blessings.
Yeah, right.
You could
I'm
be
like,
from
at least we
fucking
have
like
free
Iowa
weed.
where
Yeah.
it's never gonna be legalized.
Legal weed is
Yeah.
not a.
It's such a
Not a bad
relief. I
thing.
can't even believe it because I was like, I have a bunch of cartridges that I drove over with from Arizona.
Oh,
And
nice.
when I passed through the border patrol, I like hid them all in like a tampon box because I was like, oh, see them, you know?
There you go,
And
tampon box.
what 50-year-old border patrol guy is gonna look at a tampon box, you know? So I hid them in there. But now once I got to California, I was like, oh, yes. this. I don't need to hide all
Yeah.
6 of my cartridges
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah. We walked
I love
past one
those.
of our other van life friends' vans the other day, and there was just like a big dispensary bag sitting in the front windshield. I was
We're
like,
like, okay,
oh,
then
you're not
you know,
nervous at all,
California.
are
You
you?
saw my
Yes,
bag,
right? Yeah.
It was shit.
Yeah. But then, well, that's also what I'm stoked to spend some time in Oregon for, is because I hear the weed up there is really nice and cheap.
Oh,
So,
is it cheap?
I've heard it's way cheaper than
Oregon.
here. Yeah. So a friend and I are going to do the Oregon Coast Trail.
Oh,
We're going to
shit,
walk
yeah.
that from Astoria to the California border.
Nice.
We're going to take like a month to do that after her graduation from grad school. And then Washington, obviously. Love that state. And my best friend from Seattle, we're going to do Vancouver Island. And then I'm probably just going to take the ferry from Bellingham to Ketchikan and fuck around in Alaska for a while.
Ketchikan? Fuck
Yeah.
yeah, that's where my dad's from.
Really?
Tiny
Have you
ass
been?
little place. I've never been, but I've heard a lot about it. And
That's just
seen
where
lots
the
of
ferry
pictures,
from
and it's-
Bellingham goes. That's like the only
Oh.
place, that's the only way, like, port they have
Oh,
that goes
yeah.
from the U.S. to...
all the way to Alaska.
Yeah, I
just
guess it's Bellingham to Ketchikan is like my only
So you're
option.
not going to drive to Alaska.
I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking I might want to take the ferry there just because it'll be faster. Because I'm not very good at cold. So if I'm in Alaska when it's really cold, I'm not going to do well with that.
Right.
But yeah, that's my thought.
I was at a meetup with a guy who was telling me that he drove his van to Alaska during the summer one year and sold it for like way more than he paid for it, because Alaska's almost like he said Alaska's almost like an island
Yeah, it's
in
gotta
that
import
you
everything.
can't get anything there. And so
That
he
makes sense.
he drove a kitted out camper van up there, and like people were like all
Turned a
over
hefty
it,
profit.
totally ready to pay him for
I'm
what
not surprised. That seems
what
like a
he
total
had.
Alaska thing.
Yeah.
Also, just the way people are so like self-sufficient and everything there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Although for the 6 months of the year that it's dark, my 300 watts of solar would not be very
No.
useful.
Yeah, not do well.
Also, being from Michigan, it's not Alaska, but it's far enough north. It would fuck you up mentally. I promise. It's really fucking depressing
I'll
to
bet
deal
so.
with gray for 8 months out of the year.
Yeah.
I like the gray.
You say that now because it's
Yeah.
gray once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My university had like sun lamps in the union. It gets so
Oh,
bad.
shit.
Everyone gets so depressed in the winter in
Wow.
Michigan. Yeah.
all in moderation, right? You can't have
Exactly.
too much of anything. You have too much
Exactly.
heat, and you're like, this is disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
You have too much cold and too much fog. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the fantasies for us, is like, if we can figure out how to be financially sustaining on the road, which both of us have pretty cool jobs, and like she's
Yeah.
getting a bunch of theater gigs lately in
You guys
San
both do
Diego
theater stuff? You do
County.
Yeah, I'm a director.
Cool.
Working on being a director.
Yeah.
No, I think I can call myself a director.
You're a director,
now.
dude.
Getting paid.
Fuck
So, yeah.
You decide. I'm not gonna know any different. You can take whatever credit you want.
But she's just started getting her first like professional paying gigs and stuff,
A
and
couple lined up.
she's
Yeah.
getting to know people in the San Diego scene, and so it sort of makes sense for us to be here. But we kind of like the idea of being able to get like totally mobile.
Yeah.
Um,
Who doesn't?
yeah, and
That's
the
why we do
wonderful
this, right?
yeah, the wonderful thing about that would be, oh, of course, if you're going to be stuck somewhere, Encinitas, California is like the best place in the
Yeah,
country.
it's not a bad place at all.
Weather's perfect, waves are good, everybody's reasonably cool except for the few aristocratic NIMBYs and stuff.
Yeah.
But
We'll die soon. It'll be fine.
Actually, though.
you said it, bud.
Sorry.
No, I think that all the time, honestly. Very often I think about like the differences in generations, and like, people like my grandparents' age, love them dearly, but a lot of them are like pretty racist, and like
Yeah.
a lot. It's probably overall, it's probably better that the earth doesn't have people like that. So like
Yeah.
they can be great
Hopefully
people.
we'll get to that
but-
place one day.
Yeah,
Well, like you were
I'm
saying-
seeing positive trends.
It's worth believing that things are getting better, and I think they
Yeah.
are.
Totally.
I'm a big cycling and pedestrian infrastructure advocate.
Yeah.
And what you see now is that the baby boomers, who were among the worst for the country in terms of environmental impacts and in terms of roadway infrastructure, most of them, as they start to retire, want to move to places of density.
Yeah,
and
they do,
so
don't they?
do the millennials.
Isn't
Are
that
like
crazy?
are like this suburban household. I don't want to live out way out here. I want to live in the city. Who cares if I only have 400 square feet? That's enough tchotchkes and crap for anybody.
It's convenience, yeah. And like for me at least, and a few people I know, it's like commuting is a big thing. Especially when I lived in Phoenix, I knew people that commuted an hour to work every day. I was like, I
used to
go
do that.
nuts. I would go nuts. So like, I set a rule for myself. I will never commute more than a half hour. My commute in Phoenix was like 12 minutes.
That's awesome.
And it would have been even better if I could walk. If I could walk a half hour to work every day, I'd be the happiest camper.
Yeah.
That was how it was when I lived in Manhattan, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was like 10 minutes, or it's kind of switched. My first year, I was 30 minutes from campus and 2 seconds from my work, and then the next year was 10 minutes to school and 30 minutes to work. Just walking. I could walk anywhere. I didn't have to rely on the train. And I just got to walk. And if I needed to go somewhere else, I could take the train.
It's so nice.
And I was like, loved
and
not having a car. Loved it.
I love having a car because I go a little bit crazy if I don't have the option of driving somewhere.
Yeah.
But I love walking commutes. Like, even when I went to school in Michigan, like, Ann Arbor is very walkable. I lived far out because it was cheaper to live far away, so it was like a 25-minute walk to class, but I was like, sweet, I'll listen to music, I'll look at some trees and
wake up,
call it a day. Yeah. It's a great way to like get your mind going, you know, especially when you're walking and moving your body.
Yeah, I loved that.
One of the things, you know, and unlike a lot of like this Instagram, like you and a bunch of these people you see on Instagram, and who knows if their stories are accurate on Instagram or whatever, but like, unlike y'all, we are sort of geographically anchored.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you were saying about like going out and back, it bothers me that like when we went to Yosemite, which is whatever, 500, 600 miles away, that was a 1,200 mile trip for us.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were constantly traveling, we could do the entire country in 10,000 miles, as opposed to here and there and here and there and here and there, and you're doubling your mileage every time. But one of the wonderful things for us is that, like, I had a meeting up in Irvine a couple of months ago, and we were able to make the commute at 8 p.m. the night before.
That's true.
You know?
That's one thing I do love about it. Yeah.
And you wake up and you're at the, 3 miles from the gym that's right next to the meeting that you have to go to. You get up, take a shower, and make breakfast. And
oh, you guys do have the gym membership?
Yeah.
That's smart. I've been thinking about that.
We do 24-hour because it's everywhere and closest to us
24-hour
here.
fitness?
Here's the problem, though.
but
24-hour
they-
is everywhere in California.
Yeah.
It's not, because I drove back to South Carolina and back over Christmas.
Yeah.
And I did not see a 24-hour outside of California.
Yeah, I was going to do a Planet Fitness for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's better.
They're more nationwide.
For us, just being around this area so
It
much,
makes
it's
sense
like
for you,
the
for
closest
sure.
Planet Fitness is like half an hour from here, so
Yeah.
you can't really bother with that. The 24 hours has been pretty good, but yeah, if you're going to go further.
That makes sense.
When it gets hot, we can imagine we might just go down here and...
Even
little
when it's
outdoor
cold.
shower down there?
No, I've just been hopping in the ocean for a shower.
Yeah.
I bring my like organic face wash and I just wash my face really quick and I'm like, sweet, it's bedtime.
There you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, our buddy Teddy usually showers right at the at the little
I'll
outdoor
probably start doing
showers
that
down
too.
there. And we'll do that when it starts to get warm, but
Yeah.
especially in the winter when it's cold and that I get out of the water
sounds
and I'm
terrible.
cold, I want to go get in a hot shower.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I try and
For
do
your
the
sanity.
gym, too.
Yeah.
I have to be there anyway. I try and do a little gym.
Colette gyms a little bit, but I don't.
Yeah.
I used to gym a lot, but...
I gotta gym more,
Try.
especially if I'm gonna do a month through hike. I really need to start gymming. But
Yeah. What's after Alaska? You don't know.
yeah, I left it intentionally open-ended because I'm kind of anticipating I'm gonna find somewhere I really want to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's either here or Ocean Beach because I worked in the international education industry and I have some connections in San Diego to do a job that I would actually love.
Cool.
So I do this thing where wherever I go, I like plan my life out living there. So I've planned it. I'm going to live in Ocean Beach and work at IAU College and like, do all the things. I'm already convincing my friends to move there. But I'm also kind of thinking about Seattle. I'm also anticipating loving Oregon. So I don't really know. It kind of just depends on where I want to be. Seattle is dark.
It rains a lot. I'm
know.
from there. It rains a lot, and it's
That's
cold,
one thing I
and
would
it's
have a
cloud.
problem with.
Yeah. So that...
The only issue is that I love the mountains there, and I do have a lot of friends there. So like,
Oh, it's
that
beautiful.
might balance it out. I
If you
know.
don't like that, just a heads up.
TBD.
Summer's the best time of the year to be there.
Yeah.
What is IAU?
It's Institute for American Universities.
Oh, I thought that may have been I was like, wait a second.
No, it's like it's
Don't know what a lion is.
I actually worked with them in my last job. I was like the counterpart at my previous job. I do doing like the same thing that my friend does at IAU. Essentially just like helping American students spend semesters abroad.
Cool.
So
Oh,
like
cool.
in France or Morocco or Spain or whatever, helping them get that, international education enrichment experience.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
What's your educational background?
I went to University of Michigan, and I studied Spanish and communications, which essentially just means I can bullshit you in 2 languages.
There you go.
Lately, I've been really bitter that I went to college because it's so stupid. It's so useless. It's such a scam. If I were smart when I was 18, I would have just gone to trade school and been a mechanic. But Ann Arbor was dope. Michigan's a great school. I'm super employable. So it's allowing me now to just like not worry about where I'll end up because I know I can get a job wherever.
Right.
Well, that's better. I
Yeah.
spent a fuck ton of money to get a theater degree.
Yeah. You see,
Yeah, I'm doing great.
it's
It
a
works.
scam, right? Education nowadays is a complete scam.
I struggle with that because I got a little trapped. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, my bachelor's is in theater, and I was convinced by the powers that be that I wasn't going to be able to make a living at that, and I would have.
Yeah?
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then because
You got suckered into law school?
because of that, it was like, okay, here's the thing that will make you ultra employable. Mm-hmm. And I went to law school, and it was excessively expensive, unreasonably scam-worthy expensive,
Yeah.
right? And so I feel you on that point. But the education I got there, even though I was surrounded by a bunch of money-grubbing assholes, the education, the academic experience that I had there was super worthy.
Yeah, that's true.
But so
Law school teaches you stuff, but it also teaches you to be like super hardy and like it puts you through a lot of shit.
Right.
But it makes you really strong.
it's like
He likes school.
It's like nerd boot camp or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I
but
don't like school. That's the difference.
but the thing is, in a context where you didn't have to go into like a career's worth of debt to get this type of education, where it was just available to everybody. I don't
If
think
only,
I don't
right?
think it's a scam. I studied
You
abroad
got
in
lucky.
Yeah.
I studied abroad in Toulouse.
Oh, cool.
When I was in law school, and I remember sitting around with this woman who, her dad was like an Ethiopian diplomat in France or something like that. But it wasn't because of this. She wasn't getting any special diplomat like discount or anything, but she got to take classes as a French citizen, and we were talking about what law school cost each of us, and we were in similar paths, similar trajectories in our education, and the amount that she was paying to go to school for the whole year was about what I paid every semester for books.
Yeah.
And
Ridiculous.
then
It's a
you're talking a
complete
couple of
scam.
$1,000 on top of that every
Yeah.
year for tuition and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I really do believe in education, and I believe in liberal arts education. I think is super
It's great.
useful,
Yeah.
but to the extent that we like drive people into like
Debt for the
borderline
rest of their
servitude.
lives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's servitude.
It's not sustainable either. I have so many rants I could go on about this because this is a passion of mine, but like,
Please do.
shit, if you want that can of worms, I'll do it.
Come on.
But
Bring it.
so I guess like the international, that's one aspect of it. The way we do it in the States is so unethical because, for example, I spent some time in Sweden. The way they do it, so different. It's free for Swedish citizens because, I mean, they pay out the nose in taxes, but they're covered for everything they need to be
Right.
healthy humans, including education. But I knew a person in Sweden who was going to school, and they have such a great model. They'll like, obviously your tuition is free, but you need to pay for everything else. Like, obviously you need to eat, you need to live somewhere, you got to buy books and other materials, things like that. But if you get a certain a certain grade, like let's say your rent is 10,000, just to use a round number. If you get an A, they'll give you like $5,000 stipend. If you get a B, they'll give you $3,000. So like they reward people who are working hard and making inroads and being successful at things that will turn around and benefit the country, and then they give rewards for that.
Stupid
Can you imagine? Yeah, right? And then like
Socialism.
there are just so many fucked up things that I think America we're kind of we're inhibited by our size.
Yeah.
Just because like America's so big and everyone's too diverse. We can't come up with a system like that because it works in Sweden because literally everyone looks and acts the exact same. But like in the US it just doesn't work. But shit, I had a different point I was gonna make and I forgot what it was. But,
Well, so I love exploring the tension between a person's conduct and their ideals, right?
yes.
I'm actually
getting into the meat there.
I'm actually really fundamentally opposed to public street parking.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, the most valuable resource in a community is real estate.
Yeah.
And so to the extent that real estate is owned by the public, which you could make an argument that all real estate in the United States is owned by the public and that it's
I wouldn't make that argument.
you could because
but I wouldn't.
property taxes,
Yeah.
right? We call it ownership, but we still charge rent for people even who own things,
so
right?
stupid.
And you could change the
Property tax is
level
also a scam.
of rent. Well, that's an issue that we could talk about.
Yeah.
But
Whole different thing. We shouldn't go too deep there.
but I think that to the extent that public space is used for the storage of people's private property,
Yeah.
it's probably the worst possible use of public real estate to store a vehicle overnight. Like you look
So
at downtown
then-
Encinitas and you have a bunch of people who have garages in which they keep a bunch of effects and personal property, but not their cars, and they live in $4 million houses and have 3 or 4 cars,
And they
2
park
of
them on the
which they
street for
park on the
free.
street
Yeah.
so that their friends can come over. And so it's like we're subsidizing the excessive ownership of destructive chattel
Yeah.
for the most well-off people in the community. But that said, even though I'm against public parking,
You
I
utilize
benefit
the
it.
shit out of it. Yeah.
I benefit from it every night,
Yeah.
right? And so, like, there's a difference between what I'm doing, and it starts to sound like hypocrisy sometimes, but there's a difference between what I'm doing and what I fundamentally believe in, because we live in a world that has parameters and
Yeah.
and rules that I'm not going to be able to fix fast enough to have
Yeah.
exactly the way I want to. That's a really long-winded way for me to
Yeah.
get around to asking you this question. If you think that secondary education in the United States is a scam,
Oh, that was my point. Yeah.
how do you get back going? How do you get back around to
You don't.
facilitating kids in college studying abroad? Because
So-
that's a job that you might like to have.
No, that's the job that's my passion. That's
Yeah.
my industry for sure.
And I'm not calling you a hypocrite. I'm just
No,
interested in
that's
the
a valid question.
in
very
the tension
valid.
there.
Yeah.
So I don't call it a justification, but the reason I'm passionate about international education, it's not the education part, it's the international part. So although I think secondary education is a scam and should not be pushed on everyone because it's ultimately lessening the value of every bachelor's degree ever, I truly believe every student should have an international experience because as Americans we need to learn that we are not the center of the world.
Seriously.
And there are many other countries that do many things better than we do, and we just don't know about it because our media and everything we consume is too American-centric. So, I just think studying abroad is it's the best way for students to get that international experience in a way that's not backpacking and hostel hopping, and also gonna integrate them the most and give them the most benefit.
Right.
You know, so like, you could spend 3 months hostel hopping in France, but it's not gonna you're not gonna learn as much, and it's not gonna have the same mind-opening effect that it will if you live with a host family in France and you take classes there as well.
Not to mention
Yeah.
that the demographic that's willing to hostel hop is pretty narrow, whereas if you can sell somebody on, look, you're going to go
And
live
get credit for
a pretty Americanized sort of, or all the creature comforts, all the modern
Yeah.
creature comforts and stuff, and you're not going to have to walk around and talk to strangers all the time. You're going to be institutionalized or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
And
Well-
school is such an easy way to be
Meet
around,
people.
to meet people, to
Yeah.
be around people. Like, you know, you wouldn't, if you go, you might not meet nearly as many people that are native to that area as you would if you were at
definitely.
a college. You know,
Yeah.
I studied abroad in Canterbury outside of London, and all of my friends were these awesome British people, and I don't think I might have met them because I'm a really social person, like,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't have had as much access, and
And you
like,
probably learned so much from them.
I did,
Yeah.
I definitely did, and I wouldn't have had that if I wasn't at a school there.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
another thing, like, that's probably the first dimension, like, just access as well as mind opening. But the second dimension for me, I guess this is more specific to me because the company I worked for that offered these semesters abroad was like the Benz of abroad experiences.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
like, it was high class. Like, I had all the richest kids from like Michigan, Cal Poly, IU, Penn State, like all those really expensive schools. I had all like the super entitled kids coming from there. A lot of them were very polite. A lot of them were not.
Entitled.
So yeah, they're entitled, and some. I mean, when you grow up and your parents are like that, and everyone you know is like that, I mean, of course, you're gonna follow suit. You don't know anything else. So, it was annoying and rewarding for me sometimes to send these very privileged students abroad just so that they could see and like just learn about all the things that they don't know
Yeah.
and all the different ways people live. And that was almost more rewarding for me when I had a problem student and I was like, oh, I can't wait for your
for
world to get
sure.
rocked. And it like I said it in like a frustrated, mean way, but also in a loving way, because like when you're 19 and you grew up super rich and you don't know anything else, that's really what you need to get
Right.
by in the world.
So this is a very similar avenue, I think, of conversation, but that makes me think of something that I endeavor to do is pretty regularly. Is what do you think about, and maybe you're doing it right now too, probably. What do you think about exposing yourself to unnecessary adversity?
Necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. That's partially what I'm doing.
Sort of the point, right?
Yeah, I think it takes a certain. This is gonna sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I'm really not that good at it. It takes a certain type of self-aware person to be comfortable enough saying, "Hey, I suck at this. I'm gonna go force myself to get better at it."
Sure.
Which is partially what I'm doing with van life, because I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
You know, in Phoenix, I loved my apartment. I had the vibes so right, and I loved nothing more than to just like after work, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I wanted to just go home and smoke weed and take a shower and go to sleep. You know.
Yeah.
I can't do that anymore. And it's great because I'm not comfortable. It's forcing me to like be more creative about how I spend my time. It's forcing me to just like be outside more, which is what I wanted. But yeah, I think that's necessary for a lot of American youth right now, especially with, you know, all the Trump bullshit and all the, you know, everything is just so insulated, and all of a sudden if you learn that immigrants are bad, you're not going to travel, you're not going to meet new people. And it's just like we're on a slippery slope right now where I think people are trending away from that, and I think we should be doing the opposite.
Well, kudos to you. I think you're doing a fantastic job because I talked to you earlier, and both of us are very outgoing people, and you're the one who was like, "You want to do this podcast? Let's go ahead and fucking do it." You know
Well,
what
I didn't want to be annoying,
And we
but
were
I was
gonna.
like,
I
you
was.
said you wanted to
We're
have
like,
a backup, and
we'll
I was like,
give
I
you
can
your-
help.
I was gonna
time,
procrastinate,
but-
and you reminded me that I need to attack it, and like do
And
it.
I'm like,
so
let's
thank
just
you.
do it right now.
Sure.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if you were like actually didn't want to, or if you didn't want to be annoying, but I
I
was
didn't want
like,
to impose
We
on
don't want to
you.
push it on you too quick.
Yeah. So,
Hi, baby.
no, I think it's a cool thing, and the fact that you're raising awareness for like the good core of van life, I think it's necessary. And the reason I like, you know, nature and alternative styles of living and traveling is just to see the creativity that people approach life with. So if we can kind of disseminate that idea and be like, look, you don't need to do the conveyor belt and get a degree and work a job you hate and have a white picket fence. I think more people just need to learn that there are options out there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm currently not reading, but listening to the audiobook of
It
Steve.
still counts.
Yeah. My dad was like, "You need to read this book. You need to read this book. You need to read this book." And I started to do it just to appease him.
Yeah.
But it's actually very good. Steven Pinker's Enlightenment Now, and it's a very optimistic take on progress.
Yeah.
And I think he's mostly right. And he's basically, the thesis is progress is happening and the world isn't going to shit because, look, poor people these days have access to an encyclopedia
The
on their
internet.
smartphone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's
I think that all
poor
the time.
people.
There's
Like,
no excuse to be dumb anymore now that we have the internet. It's free. It's available to everyone.
Yeah, but
We can
so
educate ourselves
Yeah.
to a certain extent.
the creature comforts that we have access to, that the lesser of us have access to in 2019, super marginalized people, the richest of the rich didn't have some of those things 200 years ago. You know? And this is what the thing that is going to make my dad cringe and groan when I tell him that one of my takeaways from this book
Oh God.
is that if poor people are way better off than a lot in a lot of ways than rich people were 200 years ago, why the fuck do I need to be rich?
You
You know
don't.
what I mean? Like if I'm making bills and I get to see more than I could making more money, why would I make more money? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
Strive to be happy and comfortable in whatever that means.
she works at Modern Times. I think you're repping. Look at you.
I am.
Love it.
And they make
proud.
fantastic.
Big beer nerd.
Yeah.
They make
I've been in the
fantastic
beer
beer.
industry for 5 years now. About.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a pro.
Love the beer industry.
They also roast fantastic coffee.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, like, when I'm thinking about all of this and like the whole van life thing about like living in the moment and all of that, when they age out coffee, she gets to bring it, and she doesn't drink coffee, and so I'm like constantly coffee rich.
Okay.
But
Coffee rich.
I started drinking the best bag first
Yeah.
because I might die. You know what I mean?
Why not?
I drink
I
the best
that's
bag
one thing
first.
I've been thinking about a lot too. Kind of for a different reason, but it has the same endpoint. I'm one of those people that's obsessive about whatever I'm doing. So like,
Me too.
when I'm saving, I'm fucking saving.
Uh-huh.
People will be like, "Hey, you want to go get a burrito?" I'll be like, "No, that's $5 I don't need to spend. I'm gonna save
Good
it."
for you.
You know?
I'm gonna eat an apple and some peanut
I'm
butter.
like too good at it though. It's bad. Like I'll
No,
deny
I'm terrible
myself
at
pleasure
that.
because I'm so futuristic, you know? But I think the same thing. Like that's one thing, that's actually a goal that I'm working on with van life, is just to enjoy this moment even if it takes a little extra.
Yeah.
So like, why shouldn't you enjoy the coffee that you like the most at this moment? Like why not?
Yeah.
I totally support that. I think you should definitely.
Thank you, bud.
I mean, the bad stuff's still going to be there tomorrow, and it's going to be just as bad. But
Modern
this good
Times doesn't
stuff-
make bad coffee.
Well, the less than great
Great
stuff.
coffee.
Yeah. And like maybe this best bag won't taste as good tomorrow. You know.
Yeah. Well,
You gotta
and I do have
optimize your options.
I have a 5-month-old bag of Pete's. That when
Get rid
she
of it,
got
dude.
the
Minimalist. Come
when
on,
she
you don't
got
have
the
space for that.
job, when she got the job, I just like put the bag of Pete's on the afterburner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, why shouldn't you? If you can satisfy your basic needs and you are, stable, what's stopping you from just having your comforts and doing what you love?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea, I think.
And I get a discount and hooked up, and I don't drink coffee, so just bring it
Take
to him.
advantage. Yeah, it's gonna be a waste if you don't drink it.
Yeah.
Coffee
Yeah.
rich.
Somebody's gonna drink it. So
I feel like that's one thing. That's one thing the previous generation did excel in. Like my parents are very classic people. They're like born and raised in West Michigan, stayed there. They have the house and the boat and the few cars and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But that's one thing my dad is really good at, is he's like, I work really hard so that when I want to splurge, I can.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time, they're very into penny pinching, but if he wants this one fancy thing, he's gonna get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's a useful skill.
Sure.
Like
my dad
too far in either direction is not good, as I'm learning.
My dad was the same way. He's like had a real solid job for a long time, and for the longest time, he only got two weeks off a year, which is standard in the U.S. and not in any other developed country.
Yeah.
But I remember going on, because he's a banker,
Yeah.
we were hearing about finance and saving and all of that growing up. And we would go on these vacations, and I'm like, Dad,
You're being so lavish.
we don't need that. He's like, dude, I get 2 weeks off a month. I got more money than time. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Like,
A month, a year.
if there's a
2
thing
weeks
I
a month
want,
would be a great amount of time.
Oh, did I say 2 weeks a month?
I was like, that sounds
2 weeks a
fantastic.
month.
I'd be down for that.
That's what I'm aiming at.
I work hard 2 weeks out of the month, and then the other 2 weeks I
Yeah.
can dick around.
Exactly.
That'd be the dream.
Yeah, that's exactly what my dad did. He and my mom, they're very into penny pinching, and then he turned 60 and he was like, I put 2 kids through college. I've fulfilled all my goals. I never treat myself. So he bought himself like a fancy sports car.
There you go.
And I was like,
There you
okay.
go.
And my mom was like, you don't need that. And he was like, I know I don't.
I don't care.
I want to drive something fancy around in the summer.
Yeah.
He was like, I've worked hard.
not?
I earned it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's not my thing, but more power to him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not my thing either. None of us like it except him. But
you do
whatever.
you, man. It's
Yeah.
your money.
you've worked hard. You've earned it. You almost never treat yourself.
Yeah.
Enjoy it,
You
Dad.
deserve it.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest part about van life for you?
Sequoia life.
Sequoia life. Sorry.
See,
Sequoia
that's one thing.
life.
I'm not sure what to call it. Can I call it van life or do I have to
Call it
call
van
it
life.
truck life? I don't know.
Call whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Good answer.
It's gonna work a
your
lot
house.
better when you're talking to people who
Yeah,
aren't
I
right
think
next
I'm
to your
just gonna
truck
call
if you
it
just
van
call it
life.
van life.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be like, Sequoia life? I don't. Just tell me more.
Oh, that sounds so dreamy and tall and woodsy.
That's a great question, and I can't think of one so far. Because, I've had it into a few extremely different environments. Because I went from Utah, where the entire place is BLM land, and you can literally park and live wherever
sure.
you want for
Yeah.
however long you want, and literally no one will know.
Yeah.
So I went from that to Ocean Beach, San Diego. So, very different.
Yeah.
Obviously the basics, if I need to get up in the middle of the night to pee, where am I going to do it? I solved that problem by just hydrating early in the day and not before bed.
The pee style.
Oh, finally, I don't have to mansplain this to
What is
somebody
this?
because you're here.
I have it. I'll show you. So I ask you this question mostly because I'm curious about women being in van life on their
Yeah.
own, because I started this with Marty, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that experience on my own, but I
Yeah.
just wonder, always being a woman on your own, what that experience is like. But okay, so Marty got this for me when we first started, and it's the pee style. So it's great for hiking, backpacking, and van life.
I've seen some like that, like the Shiwi too.
Shiwi is stupid. I've tried the Shiwi too. I had a
Okay.
man, he was all like, you should get the Shiwi. And I was like, you can buy me the Shiwi and I'll try it, but I'm telling you, I love my pee style. And our friend
She likes what she likes.
our friend Jeremy looked at our friend. He was like, Brian, are you really gonna, do you have a vagina? Are you really
Why
gonna
do you
tell
care?
her
Yeah.
what you think about these devices? So I love this thing because you just tuck it in, and we have a bottle that we both pee in all night. That's just
Okay.
an orange juice bottle, a Simply Made orange juice bottle that has a
Perfect.
large enough thing.
Yeah.
And so we just both pee in that every night, and this is perfect for that.
All right, I'll probably get there.
But
at some
also,
point.
if you're into hiking and camping and backpacking,
I just squat. I'm
this thing's the
old school.
shit.
Yeah.
But when it's cold outside, I'm a wimp for the cold.
Yeah,
So
me
I don't
too.
want to drop trowel all the time.
Yeah, that's probably
this
actually
is
going to
the
be my
shit.
hardest.
It's like $12 on Amazon,
okay.
and Marty got it for me ages ago, and I fucking love this thing. And you just
I'll look into it.
take baby wipes and whatever, and you just wipe it out every
will.
time, or wash it in the sink. But
Yeah.
it's a shit. I could just keep it there.
Yeah, so that's one of the things so far.
Would recommend that.
I'll look into it, I will. Because I've just been avoiding it. I was like, well,
great.
I guess I'll drink a lot of water in the morning and none in the afternoon.
Okay. Well, I mean, you don't drink, but we drink a lot, and so you drink a lot of beer. You gotta
Yeah.
pee all night long.
I don't have that issue.
But
luckily.
either way, it's nice. You
Can't
just
relate.
you keep the bottle, and you just can pee right into it with your pee style, and
Yeah.
super easy.
I'll have to
super
look into
clean.
that.
Life is good.
The other hard thing, I suppose, has just been safety.
Yeah.
As a small solo female,
Sure.
I'm really cognizant about where I'm parking.
Definitely.
And I learned in San Diego, I parked up. Have you guys been to Black's Beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I parked up there by the glider port, and I was like, that was kind of okay, but it was open. It was too open. And there were a few other people in the area, so one time this dude walked right by, within feet of my truck to use the bathroom, and he was talking to his dog. And it ended up being nothing, but it was way too close for comfort.
Sure.
So I started just parking on quiet residential streets because I know no one's going to be looking for me. I'm not going to be conspicuous, like a truck just parked in the middle of nowhere. And I have curtains in my truck, so I like nobody's looking for me. If they're not looking for me, they're not going to see me.
Yeah.
So I guess safety so far, but I haven't really had any issues with that.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm trying really hard to trust my intuition, and if I get bad vibes about a place, I just keep going.
Yeah. Sometimes I get bad vibes about a place, but like if he doesn't,
Yeah.
I feel a
Yeah.
little bit better because it got him and the not like Spin's a guard dog of any kind,
But no, dogs
I
get the
don't know, it's
vibes
just
too.
like-
I'm sure if it were really, really, truly bad, he would probably freak out and he'd probably leave too.
Yeah.
Dogs get vibes, totally.
there are places we've parked that I probably wouldn't park if I was by myself.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's just all feeling it out.
Exactly.
And it sucks that we have to be extra cautious.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
It's a harsh reality.
that's how it goes.
Truth be known, if anybody of three of us, if anybody's gonna kick somebody's ass, it's her.
That's probably me. Actually, I have a short rope.
I moved to
Oh, I
Manhattan.
meant the three of us.
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
about
okay.
you.
I
Please
moved
don't
to
hurt me.
Manhattan and I was like, okay. And you walk, it's all about confidence, right? Everywhere
is.
you
It
go,
totally
you walk
is.
down the street and you have to be confident and you have to, so that anyone who looks at you weird or has any weird intentions towards you, if you look like,
If you look them right
if
in
you're
the
like,
eye,
fuck you, they're not gonna they don't go near you if you look scared and weird and whatever and you're like, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Then like that's when people are gonna prey on you more.
I've
You look them
developed
in the eye and
actually
you're like, fuck you.
as a strategy to
Mess with
avoid
me.
that, I've developed like a kind of confident niceness about me. When I see someone that looks sketch, instead of like crossing the street, I'll just smile at them and say like, "Hey,
You're
how
like,
are
"Hey,
you?"
what's up?"
Because like, who's gonna fuck with this nice girl? It was like, "Hey, how are you?" You know.
Yeah. Or I just do
Maybe that's
straight-
just really
straight
innocent of
face.
me, but I like
No,
stare right
that's how
at
it
them,
is. It's all
make
about
sure that they
confidence.
know that I'm memorizing their face,
Right.
and then I say something nice.
All about confidence.
I feel like, and this is back to your point about optimism, social optimism about strangers
Yeah.
and culture and stuff, is that I know that there was a very eye-opening moment. I lived in New York briefly after college, and as backwoods swamp South Carolinians, we had these stereotypes. New Yorkers are
Everyone does.
shithead
Yeah.
assholes, and California
Fruits
is
and nuts.
is full of
My dad's like, California's the land of fruits and nuts. Why would I want to go there?
And-
I'm like, you've clearly never been, but okay.
But so I thought I was moving to the land of fruits and nuts, and I went to Orange County, where it was
So that's the worst.
at the time was a
Yeah.
bunch of right-wing people who said the
Yeah.
same racist shit
Super
to me,
rich assholes,
but
yeah.
behind closed doors
Yeah, yeah,
instead
yeah.
of out in the open.
They're too cool out in the open.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the county that I grew up in has a much higher per capita murder rate than New York City.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I got my ass kicked a whole lot as a kid, and because I'm a wimp, and
Yeah.
and I also am a smartass, which is a bad combination
Dude,
for somebody
same. I feel
who's the
you.
smallest person in
Yeah.
class.
The sassy tiny kid.
Yeah,
same.
but it doesn't work for you.
At the end of the day, and this goes exactly to your point,
Yeah.
the way that I avert a fight is by involving everyone else around
Yeah, being
and
like
being
aggressively
passive.
pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being aggressively pleasant. Exactly. It's like, hey man, I know that you're trying to start a fight with me and you're barking up the wrong tree.
I
I'm
don't
not
wanna
going to
fight
fight
you.
with
Yeah.
you. And you say it loud enough to where if anything happens, everybody
Everyone's gonna
around
have your
knows
back.
that guy's the asshole
Yeah.
and not me.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
And it's the same sort of thing, making eye contact with people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, God, I would never know what it's like to be a woman, and I do not envy either of you. But
I've
Thanks, man.
actually had some interesting talks with boys about being a woman.
yeah,
Like, all women, we make generalizations like, oh, boys are stupid. I do it all the time because usually boys are pretty dumb.
They're dumb.
But
they're the fucking
I
worst.
love this man, but
I'll be the
he's
first
yeah,
to say it.
exactly. Like, I've loved boys too. Most of them were dumb, but they're still lovable, you know?
Yeah. So
Um,
lovable.
yeah.
I'll get my own beer this time.
But the thing is that, like, very often they want to be helpful and they want to be nice, but I feel like
Yeah.
they just don't know what we're going through.
Yeah, they don't.
So,
It's
like-
just like an ignorance. They don't know.
Yeah, they
don't
just don't understand.
And it's with
there-
anything.
There have been so many times where boys have been like talking about like, oh, in this situation I would have done that, or like, oh, we should totally do this, and I'm like, pause and think about it. Think about how you would feel if you weighed 120 pounds and were 5'5".
Yes.
Like, you wouldn't say the same shit you do, and you would not walk the same places you do, and like the fact that I've explained to people before that like when I was in college, instead of walking home from the bar, I would run. The fact that I said that to a dude once, he was like, "Are you serious? Like, why?" And I was like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
You don't get it. And I mean, even Marty is lovely and very understanding, but like even he doesn't get it sometimes, and that's fine. And like
it's not
that's
that you
just-
don't get it. It's just
No, but
that you think about it.
Oh boy,
Maybe.
we're not going yet.
What
Missy.
happened? Trying to fall?
Well, that's the definitional difference between sympathy and empathy, right?
Yeah.
Is that I totally, I
He
feel
does.
for you,
Absolutely.
but I don't feel on your
can't
behalf.
empathize.
So there's
right?
there's
We'll try.
moments though where I'm like, oh well this is why I feel this way, or this is why I reacted this way, and he's great. And he's like, oh okay,
Yeah.
Like,
And
If-
those are the boys worth keeping around. I've learned, like, in my...
Oh, thanks, you guys.
Actually, though, in my short 25 years, like, I've
Yeah.
learned that the boys you keep around are the ones that will listen when you explain things like that. The ones that
Absolutely.
aren't worth it are the ones that are like, oh, whatever, you're just being
oh
a
well,
pussy
then
or
why
whatever."
didn't you do this instead? And
Yeah.
you're like, oh, that's really easy for you to say. Dick.
I always make it a policy to call my girlfriend a pussy.
He does, yeah.
Obviously, I mean,
And I'm like, is that a
Clearly.
compliment?
yeah.
That's the way you
Pussies are
score points.
fantastic.
Whenever that happens, I'm always like, yo, pussies take beatings,
Yeah.
balls do not.
Listen,
Pussies are
Betty
way
White.
You
better.
can it.
Come on, go up.
Come on, baby.
Come on up. Come on up.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Just like, and it's not even malice. I think most of the time it's just ignorance.
Oh, absolutely.
They're just like, oh, I never
They just
thought
don't
of
get it.
that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wow, interesting.
This is all about experience, what you've
yeah,
been through. And
totally. It totally is.
Eating
Hey, let me
weird
grab my
things.
phone really quickly from my
Yeah.
truck. I think I left it in a very conspicuous place.
Oh, shoot.
Worried about that. Oh no, is that a problem?
Oh no. Spin.
Hey, Spin, come back.
Yeah,
those people
okay. Trying to
burritos.
steal those burritos.
That's so funny.
Stealing a burrito.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is my lifeline. I'd be really sad if it were stolen or something.
It's everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're trying to get
Yeah.
burritos?
Yeah. We're tough people, but we can't exist without our phones.
Yes, nomadic as
Definitely.
you strive to be or are.
We all need
it's like
information.
everybody has a phone.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's true.
has a laptop.
Yeah.
Unless you're,
Yeah.
not privileged
Well, this is cool.
to have one.
I feel so honored to be interviewed.
Yeah, it was great. And thank you for prompting us,
Of course.
kicking us in the pants.
I
and
wanted you
making
to
us
feel
do it.
like welcome to ask, but I didn't want to pressure you, so
Yeah.
trying to find that line, but that's hard for me to do. So
What else is there? I think
Well,
we're.
is there anything else that any thoughts that you have before we sign off?
are there?
Yeah. What did we touch on that
Thoughts,
you were like, oh
ideas,
shit, this is what I want to
questions?
talk about? But do you have any aspirations to get like a more tricked out mobile living situation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about this earlier.
Of course, yeah. So I love my vehicle. I love how comfy it is. But of course, when I'm in an urban environment like this, I'm just sitting there like, oh, it'd be really nice to not have to pay for coffee. I wish I could use my French press. I can't use my French press without getting out my stove and doing the whole thing. So like, part of me would really like to have something like this where I could cook inside. But the reason I have my SUV is because I like it to be stealth and I like to be able to drive it for everyday purposes as well. And I don't like driving vans because I like to be able to see out the back.
That's a weird thing about driving this van. It's
Yeah.
like I go to look, there's a rear view mirror.
But you can't see
It's
shit.
absolutely useless, except that that's where the backup camera shows up. And
Yeah.
I'm like, this is useless.
That's exactly
I can't
it.
see
That's the
anything.
reason. One of the primary reasons I went with an SUV is because, especially with all like the off-roading I do, and like sometimes I need to like back into weird spots. I need to be able to see out the back, and I wouldn't like. I love the idea of a van, but too much gas mileage. Very often they're not that great at off-roading, and seeing like visibility. It's a thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This van is also, though, despite that, it's surprisingly easy to drive.
Yeah, I have driven some vans that are like pretty nice, but
Recommend.
at least what like at the time of purchase, what did it for me was off-road capabilities.
Yeah.
For
Then,
sure.
like where I lived in Arizona, the reason I like ditched the Ford Focus is because I couldn't get anywhere fun
Right.
with such a roller skate vehicle. So
Yeah.
I went with, a very hefty four-wheel
Sure.
V8,
For
know?
sure.
Yeah.
I think a four-wheel Metris.
No,
my
these are
mattress.
all rear wheel drive.
Okay.
And we got stuck in some soft sand in Anza.
We went to Ansparego.
Oh, you've been? I need to go.
It just kept. We went to see the wildflowers,
It's
and it just
wonderful,
kept
yeah.
getting stuck.
Yeah, it was nothing bad. Like we didn't bottom out and hurt the van at all, but we did. end up in a bunch of places where we're like spinning, and we had to.
Our friend and us had to like
digging
dig it
out.
out, and him and I are pushing the back of the van while Marty's driving. Which, in retrospect, I probably should have been driving, but I guess I'm the muscles. So
Yeah, you look
him and
strong.
I are in the back, like fucking
Talk about
pushing the
feminism.
van.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'll do it.
Great for not calling me out as the fucking.
No. Everyone has their
I don't know.
talents.
I mean,
I've
it was
I've
great.
been in
It was
that position
fun.
before
It made me
too.
feel like I was like, yeah, let's push the van out of the sand.
In high school, actually, I had a truck that used to be a tow truck. It was like my dad bought it off a tow truck
cool.
company. Yeah, because he was like, my daughter's 16, she's gonna get in an accident. I don't want her to be the one that dies, kind of thing, you know. But I used
Be
to
available.
like being in Michigan. It came in a lot of handy because I'd be the one to like pull my friends out of ditches and stuff, and it happened all the time where like I would be the one pushing just because like I know like the angles and maybe they're better at driving. You know, we all have our talents.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys, we did it. That was episode 9 of From the Van,
It's a podcast from my van.
featuring Macey Hallstedt. She's a fascinating woman. I think she's on a really good trip, and I look forward to seeing how things shake out and where she ends up. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you're still here on the podcast, we really appreciate you. Go to fromthevan.com and look at some pictures and read some blog entries or something. We got another episode for you next Tuesday. Who knows what it will be? I used to know, but I forgot.
It's a podcast from my van.